All right, Shalom. All right, start off the same call. Halayim La Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Harikakridash Ma'amah. Double honor to the elder apostle, the great most holy one, elder here one as well. Salutation to the occupant that pushing the truth and sincerity and truth. And peace and blessings to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. All right, I'm chilling out to Amba Yasharala for the Lions of the Yasharala camp. This is another Lions Den news and prophecy. And this article, well, no, we don't start with the articles anymore. We start with this. It's second Ezra 15 to 1. It says, Speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord. Right? So now, and this is a big one, man. This is a big one that lets us know that we're getting closer and closer and closer to our salvation. All right. So the article's headline says Russia says U.S. threats of military strikes against Iran are unacceptable. Right. That's kind of watered down for what the first sentence in the article reads. So let's get to it. It says Moscow's Reuters. Russia said on Thursday that threats of military strikes against its ally Iran were unacceptable and warned that attacking the Islamic Republic could lead to potentially catastrophic results if nuclear installations were bombed. See that? And I did a lesson last week that talked about America sending one third of its B-2 bombers, right, to that region, and it's been airstrikes after airstrikes after airstrikes, and bombings after bombings after bombings on the Houthis that are backed by Iran. You see that? But the real significant factor on this article is that Russia, you know, boldly calling Iran their ally. See that? Hold on one second. Let me look something up real quick. All right. So Russia and Iran being allies um goes in into Ezekiel 38. Slacking. Ezekiel 38. All right. So let's look this up. Russian and Iran um uh relations. All right. So now it's really like this. It says retaliations, which like the relations between the Grand Duchy of Moscow and the Persian Empire. Keyword Persian, and they have Iran in parentheses because originally they were called the Persians. All right, this is officially commended in 1521 with the Rudkids and the uh, Safavids in power, respectively. Past and present contact between Russia and Iran um, have long been complicatedly, multifaceted, often wavering between collaboration and rivalry. The two nations have long history of geographic, economic, and social political interactions. Mutual relations between have been uh, turbulent and dormant at other times. Until 1720, on the surface, relations between Russia and Iran were largely friendly, and two operated on a level of equity. It says after 1720, the Peter's Giants attack on Iran, the Peter the Great's attack on Iran, and the establishment of a Russian Empire, the first of a long series of campaigns, was initiated against Iran at the Caucasus. The Russian Empire had an oppressive role in Iran during the 19th and early 20th century, and which harmed Iran's development during most of the ensuing Soviet period. The shadow of the big northern neighbor continued to impede. Since the fall of the Soviet Union, the two nations have generally enjoyed very close, cordial relations. Iran and Russia are strategic allies from the axis in the Caucasus, along with Armenia. Iran and Russia are also military allies in the conflicts in Syria and Iraq and partners in Afghanistan and post-Soviet Central Asia. The Russian Federation is also the chief supporter of arms and weaponry to Iran. Due to international economic sanctions on Iran, Russia has become a key trade partner, see that, especially in regards to the former access oil reserves. Currently, Russia and Iran share a close economic and military alliance, and both countries are subject to heavy sanctions by most Western nations, right? And mainly from the United States because of what Trump is doing right now. The reason why I read that is a simple factor because, the relationship between Russia and Iran was teeter-tottering at one point in time, but now it's being it's solid. Like it's solid, solid, solid. And this is all being done by Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai, man. We just did a lesson this past weekend, um, going into free will. So this is not something that Putin or Russia or Iran um are is doing on their own. It's fuck it, wait a second. Get some ice in the water. All right, this is something that's being mustered. It says Yahweh Bashim Shai is mustering up the host of the battle. So what he's gonna do is gonna put it into his mind and to think of evil thought and go down to the land of unwalled villages, which is America. So let's get into this article some more. It says United States U.S. President Donald Trump threatened Iran on Sunday with bombing and secondary tariffs if Tehran did not come to an agreement with Washington over its nuclear program. And the United States has moved additional warplanes into the region. See, those are the B-52, B-2s. Asked about Iran's nuclear program and the dangers of current situations, Russia's foreign ministry said that Moscow was committed to finding solutions to Iran's nuclear program, which respected Tehran's rights of peaceful nuclear energy. See that? Giving them options, giving them the capability to bring forth nuclear weapons. All right, it says the use of military force by Iran's opponents in the context of the settlement is illegal and unacceptable. Maria Zakharova, spokeswoman for the ministry, told reporters. Threats from outside to bomb Iran's nuclear infrastructure facilities will inevitably lead to an irreversible global catastrophe. All right, it said these threats are simply unacceptable. So So ain't nobody, really listening to the bluffing on the boo game that America's trying to put down right now. All right, Western powers accuse Iran of having a clandestine agenda to develop nuclear weapons capabilities by enriching uranium to a high level of fissile purity. Above that, they say is justifiable for a civilian atomic energy program. Tehran says its nuclear program is wholly for civilian energy purposes, right? So they're trying to say they're not even trying to make any nuclear weapons, but enriching with the nuclear energy that they use, but more for develop for energy throughout the I guess the city for the civilians. But what happens if they do want like America has nuclear weapons? Russia has nuclear weapons. Why is it okay for them to develop these nuclear weapons but not Iran? And Iran hasn't done half the things that America has done across the globe. See that? All right. It says Russia and Iran signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement in January, though there is a no mutual defense clause. Under the agreement, if one party is attacked, the other will not help the aggressor. Hmm. It says Russia condemns U.S. threats. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov told the Life magazine. Ryabkov said an attack on Iran could unfurl a broader open conflict in the Middle East. What does that sound like? That sounds like Or is it 3? All right, yeah, this is Joel chapter 3, verse 1. It says, Behold, for in those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all the nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat. Right, so behold, in those days, in that time, I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem. Also, gather. See, as we see in this happen, this is the Lord really bringing us out of our captivity and freeing us. You see that? At that same time, I will also gather nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat and plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. See that? And we're actually witnessing this happen. And there's a series of things that's got to happen in order, you know what I'm saying, for the Lord to do that because it was written that way. And that's exactly the way how it's going to be done. All right, so now let's go a little bit more into the it says, read this again. It says, Russia condemns U.S. threats. Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov told the Life magazine. Ryabkov said an attack on Iran could unfurl a border, a broader open conflict in the Middle East, and we're witnessing that happening. But it's all being constructed by Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. It's beautiful, man. It's so beautiful. It says the consequences of this, especially if there are strikes on nuclear infrastructure, could be catastrophic for the entire region. Ryabkov said, right? So it could be catastrophic for the entire region. So these other nations are going to start fighting back, right? So now let's go into this real quick. This is Ezekiel 38:1 because the significance of Iran, Persia, and Russia being joined together again is a big deal according to prophecies, according to the scriptures of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. This is Ezekiel 38:1. It said, The word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against it. When they talk about, it's talking about um, Russia, um, uh, Moscow, and Eurasia, like those countries in those regions. All right. It says, thus saith the Lord, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief house prince of Meshach and Tubal. So even though the Lord is stirring them up, mustering up the host of the battle, the Lord is still against them. And the Lord's still going to judge them. Also, it said, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and bring thee forth and all thine army and horses and horsemen. So this is not only going to be a judgment against America, but it's going to be a judgment against Russia too, because it's the Lord bringing them forth to do that, to destroy them also. It says all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all them handling swords. That's why we're ever seeing all these people beef up their military arsenal for this moment right here that the Lord Yahweh Bashim al Shai is bringing forth. All right, so now all them handling swords. Who is it talking about? Let's get it. Ezekiel 38:5 said Persia. See that? Persia was the first one. Ethiopia and Libya with them, all them with shields and helmets. All right. So you're gonna see. Hold on, hold on, hold on 1 second. All right, all right. Let's get this real quick. All right, let's go to Jeremiah 50. verse 9, it says, "For lo, I will rise up against I'll rise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as the mighty expert man, none shall return in vain." Right. So that assembly of nations from the north is Russia, right? Russia being said, "I shall put hooks into thy jaws and turn thee back." That similar nation starts with Russia being formed back into the Soviet Union. That's the whole purpose of them annexing what was it, Crimea in 2014 or what 2014 or 16, one of them, and the whole fight for Ukraine right now. They want all those countries that were once a part of the Soviet Union to be joined back onto them too. And who's giving them that mindset to do that? Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai. So that assimilated nation is going to be with Russia and all these other nations, starting with Persia, as is spoken in Ezekiel 38, to come up against Babylon the Great, which is America, man. So the Lord is bringing America down into the dust. That's why the scripture said, Isaiah 47, "Come sit down in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon." All right. So the Lord has a judgment for Babylon, and also He's going to judge these other nations. That's why He said that I'll bring all these nations to the valley of Jehoshaphat and plead with them, meaning to judge them according to his righteous anger. That's why he brought forth the smith to bring forth, he created the smith to bring forth the coals and the fire to bring forth an instrument for his destruction. The Lord's going to flatline this place, man. And we see it happening right before our eyes, but no, only the wise will understand, and the wicked shall not understand. They still shall continue to do wicked. Right? So that's, this is a big step, um, according to prophecy, going towards our salvation, man, because the Lord said, as he's rising up against them, as he's turning back our captivity, right? He's gonna bring all these, what I'm saying, different nations into the Middle East, so he can plead with them in judgment. That's gonna start. That's gonna kick off the war of valley of Yahweh Shaphat and bring it into World War III, which is going to bring forth that economic monetary change and shift to where it's going to be all digital, and that's going to bring the Mach B in Revelation 13 and 16, and from that, that's going to lead to nuclear missiles being. I mean, a couple nukes might be shot up, but before then, not sure. But once that Mach B gets pushed, that She-Hip gets pushed on a mass scale, then they're going to start dropping nuclear bombs. So the Lord is giving us a timeline and things to what to look at, what to expect, so we know how close our salvation is, man. All right, Lord willing, this lesson to edify and serve His purpose for the hopeful elect, the ones that truly believe in the name of Yahweh by Shem outside. This is Majors. With that, I want to give all glory and praise to the Father, and Son, and the Holy Spirit of truth, and the prophets who name the Holy Hebrew tongue. Once it called, Halayim, La Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Harakak Wadash, Ma'amah. Double honors to the elder apostles, the great millstone, and my elder here one as well. Salutation to the Akim that are pushing the truth and sincerity true. And peace and blessing to the men, women, and children that believe in the name of Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.